Hello and welcome to the first episode of Larry Bodine Live, brought to you by Legislative District 9. And today we have with us Leo Gruenstein, who is a senior at the Gregory School in Tucson. How you doing, Leo?
Hi, Larry. Thank you so much for having me. It's awesome to be here.
It's a treat to talk to you as well. As I understand it, you're on the varsity tennis and basketball teams. You're the managing editor of the school paper, and you're president of High School Democrats TGS, short for the Gregory School. How do you get it all done and study at the same time?
Well, it's pretty hectic. Basketball is essentially a year-round thing, but obviously spending all this time at home now gives me an opportunity to tackle all these clubs, and sports are on hold at the moment. So it's not, fortunately not everything is falling on me at once, but yeah, the school year is a crazy busy time for sure.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the project that you're working on, something called First to First, and it involves registering people to vote. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so First to First is a get out the vote project, and the reason for the name First to First is because we are first-time high school voters. The organizers of this project, myself and a few other kids from Tucson, are first-time high school voters, and what we're working on is reaching out to other first-time high school voters in our high schools individually to make sure that everyone at our school is registered to vote.
And what kind of success have you had at doing this? I understand you reached out to a lot of people in just a week.
Yeah, that's right. So we've been planning for about 2 months now, and it's been a lot of getting the troops rallied and organizing. We've been working a lot on finding the most effective ways to reach out to young people, because as we found out, a traditional organizing campaign just doesn't do the job. But so we've started registering kids to vote, and just in the past week here, we've registered almost 100 kids to vote.
Wow, that is fantastic. Job well done. But I understand you have a very ambitious goal. How many students do you want to register?
Yeah, so by October 5th, which is the registration deadline, and as we speak, we have only 35 days left to register kids to vote, which is exciting, but also scary and intimidating. We're trying to get at least, if not more than 1,500 kids across the state of Arizona to vote.
I understand there's, from the letter to the editor that you wrote, you're hitting all the numbers here. Students can become captains in this program called First to First, and they go to bit.ly/first2first, numeral 2. Is that right?
Yeah, why don't I tell you a little bit about what a given expectation for a first captain is. It's a super low time commitment, but it's also incredibly important work. We're trying to register as many kids across the state as possible, so that means we need captains in as many schools as possible. And basically a captain works on what we like to call relational organizing, which is peer-to-peer contact. So you're reaching out to your friends, kids that go to your high school, specifically high school seniors, and you're making sure that they register to vote, emphasizing just how easy it is to register to vote. It only takes about 45 seconds to register to vote if you have all the information that you need.
Also, in your letter to the editor that was published on August 4th, you mentioned that students aged 18 to 29 only accounted for 7.5% of all voters. From your perspective, why is that?
It's too intimidating, I would say. Kids are afraid to approach the news. They don't feel, for whatever reason, they don't feel comfortable talking about politics. It's just that there's too much bigotry in our country right now, and I think that kids are just afraid to talk amongst each other in a positive light. And so I think that's a huge reason as to why kids are afraid to get into politics. I also think that there's just a lack of emphasizing civics and being a good citizen in school today.
And when you do reach out, I think you mentioned that there was one method that works better than all the others to reach other seniors.
Yeah, again, another thing that we can take advantage of is since we're doing peer-to-peer relational organizing, we know how teens behave because we are teenagers ourselves. And so we rely on things like a Snapchat, which is, for those of you who don't know, is essentially, as crazy as this sounds, texting is out of date. We don't text anymore. All we do is Snapchat all day, every day. So we are Snapchatting a lot of kids. And if we do have the number of a kid, we do text them sometimes, but our main go-to thing is a Snapchat rather than calling.
And tell me about the reaction you get when you reach these seniors. Are most of them Republicans? Are most of them Democrats? What's your experience?
Registration efforts themselves are nonpartisan. We do not ask upfront for a given person's political affiliation. We do get a lot of reactions that, yes, I'm a Democrat. I know that you work with Mission for Arizona, so it's super exciting to see something like this. There's a large group of kids who you would just naturally assume are registered to vote, but it turns out actually aren't and hadn't really thought about registering to vote until you bring it up with them. So it's always a super pleasant surprise, and it's always a fun interaction when you're dealing with someone who wasn't registered to vote before, but you just got on to make sure that they register to vote.
What else can you tell me about the First to First program that we haven't covered yet?
One thing that I just want to point out and give a shout out to, I'm working with 3 lovely kids, 2 from University High School and 1 from Catalina Foothills High School. And they've been working with me a lot to spearhead this project. And they've been great. And also, we've been relying heavily on Mission for Arizona for resources, and also a large majority of our captains come from Mission for Arizona. So they are Mission for Arizona, what we're calling summer leaders, or essentially interns who've been working with us over the summer and have been helping us to plan and grow our network through relational organizing.
How did you first get interested in Democratic politics?
My dad actually ran for Congress back in the 80s in Alaska as a Democrat, and he has all sorts of great stories. He marched with Congressman John Lewis in the Civil Rights Movement and Martin Luther, and was in fact arrested with John Lewis. And so he has lots of super exciting stories, both from the campaign trail. I've learned from his mistakes, and so I've heard plenty of stories, and he definitely motivated me to get into this.
That's great. What would you tell to other kids who are thinking about becoming active in politics?
I know that a lot of young people these days are suddenly becoming active on social media, and I think as a way to help, fuel the passion there that I see on social media, I think you need to follow that up with actually doing something. And I think working on a campaign like you truly believe in, especially a guy like Mark Kelly, is a great way to kind of fuel that activism.
I always lived by the maxim that all it takes for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. If I wanted to follow you, is there a Facebook page or an Instagram account or some other medium would make it easier to see what you're up to?
You can follow my Twitter. That's probably where I'm most active about my politics, and that is Leo_Gruenstein. And that's where I post a lot about the kinds of events we're having. And we welcome other people who are curious to see what our events are like with open arms. So if there's ever a time where you think you might want to see what our voter registration efforts are like, we are, more than happy to welcome you into our Zoom calls.
Well, I can tell you on behalf of Democrats of Greater Tucson and Legislative District 9, the bluest legislative district in the state, that we totally welcome your efforts and enthusiasm and hope you have a lot of success.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Larry. This has been super fun, and I'm so glad that you guys are, politically active, and this is very exciting. So thank you.
All right. Thanks very much for talking to us. This has been Larry Bodine Live, and we've been talking to Leo Gruenstein, a senior at the Gregory School. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.